Welcome to the channel and welcome back to another game of Heavy Gear Blitz. Today the Peace River Force will be taking on the South once again in this desert wasteland facility. Peace River will be on this side while the South will be on this side. This is 100 TV. So with that, let's take a look at the units and the objectives. And here we have 100 TV of the South. It is being led by a commanding officer. That'll be this jungle mower Cobra in the green. He is in a group of 2 jungle mower Cobras. And then we have 2 blazing Mambas and 2 long fang Mambas. Lastly, we have 2 brawler Jaegers and a flame Jaeger. My objectives I've picked are hold, wipe them out, and pave the way. So with that, let's take a look at Peace River. And here is 100 TV of Peace River. It is led by a task force commander, the Argos, and in his group he has 2 Arbalast Mamluks, and then we have 2 Vanguard Warriors and 2 Scourge Warriors, and for the last group we have 2 Demolisher Crusader 4s and 2 Skirmishers. And then their objectives are hold, pave the way, and wipe them out. For the South's targets, I have chosen the Vanguard group, or the Warrior group, for my wipe them out, while these other 2 are for pave the way. And for Peace River, their wipe them out target are the jungle mowers, while the other 2 group are the pave the way targets. So with that, let's go ahead and deploy and begin turn 1. Alrighty, we have deployed. I have a long thing and a blazing mamba on my left with my jungle mowers, my Jaegers in the middle, and my other mambas on the right. For Peace River, she has 2 of her vanguards on the left, a Demolisher and Skirmisher, the other 2 Demolisher and Skirmishers in the middle, vanguards or warriors on the right, and the Argos and Mamluks on the far right. So with that, let's go ahead and roll initiative. That's a 6-7 for me, with initiative 4, and 4-5 for her, for the South gaining first initiative, turn 1. Alright, first activation, I activated my Long Fang. I braced, and I'm going to fire indirectly into her Scourge Warrior. So this will be 2 dice, gaining 2 for brace and link, and then losing 1 for not optimal range and indirect fire. So 2 dice versus her 3 for getting cover. I need 3s, she needs 4s. And it's a good roll for both of us. That's a 6-7 for me and a 6-7-8 for her. Let's see here. That will miss for me. And then the AoE 3 will hit the Vanguard beside her. So same thing. Yep. That's a 5-6 for me. And just a 4 for her. So margin success of 2. This will be, let's see, damage 8 for a total of 10 versus your armor.
Armor 6.
Armor 6, you'll take 4 damage to that Vanguard, immediately crippling it. And then we will move on to the next activation. Alright, next up, my Blazing Mamba went top speed up forward to this objective, and then I'm going to fire the rotary laser into that crippled Vanguard there. So this will be 3 dice, got +2 for burst, but losing 1 for going top speed. And then she will have 1 die. This will be 3s for me and 4s of her. That's a terrible roll for me. That's a 4 to a 3. Do you want to spend any command points to reroll?
Yeah.
Okay. So this will be an electronic warfare test for your commander. What do you need? I don't think those will do it.
A 6?
6? Nope.
EW, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Alright, so then it's just large excess of 1 plus damage 6, so 7 damage versus your armor.
6.
So taking 1 more damage to that Vanguard. Not enough to kill it. And then we will move on to the next one. Alright, next up, this long thing, Mamba's going to fire my linked rocket pods indirectly at that middle Mamaluke. So this will be 2 dice for me, needing 3s, 3 dice for her, needing 4s.
Yes.
Alright. That's a 6, 7 for me, and another good roll for her, 6, 7, 8. So that will miss. Fortunately, I have AoE 3, so it will hit the other 2. Let's do the other Mamaluke. That's a 5, 6 for me, and 5, 6 for her. This will be AP 1. So that will Marty says of 0. Damage 8. What's your armor?
Armor 5.
Armor 5, so you take 3 damage from that. Wait, do you have agile?
No.
No? Okay, yeah, that'll take 3 damage then. And then we will do the Argos. Same thing. 3s for me, 4s for you.
Yes.
And that's just a 3 and a 4 for you. That will miss. Alright, moving on. And lastly, my last Blazing Mamba went top speed forward and then is going to fire an indirect rocket pod at this skirmisher here. This will just be 1 dice this time. Versus her 3. I need 3s to hit. What do you need?
3s.
3s as well. It's a 4 for me and a 5, 6 for her. So that'll miss. AoE 3 will hit the Demolisher. Same thing, except 4s this time for her. That's a 5 for me and a 4 for her. Arc excess of 1. Damage 7. Armor?
8.
8. Okay, that will just plink off. I have AP 1. So that might do 1 damage. Let me double check. Alright, that Demolisher will take 1 point of damage with the AP. So with that, we then go to Peace River's activation. Alright, for Peace River's first activation, she went ahead and moved forward at combat speed with her skirmisher and is going to perform an ECM attack on my Blazing Mamba. I need 5s versus her 4s. That's a 6 for me and a 6 for her. That, let me double check. Alright. Margin success of 0. I did have Agile, so I believe it misses. It doesn't specify whether an ECM is a different type of attack. Let me know in the comments. So with that, we move on to her Demolisher here, which moved forward at combat speed, and then is going to fire it at the linked rocket pods into my Blazing Mamba. She will get rear arc for this, plus an additional one for being linked. But then she will lose a die for being out of optimal range. I will get plus one die for cover. I need 3s. She will need 4s. All right. Oh, and that's triple ones. Fantastic. All right, I'm going to spend a CP. It is my commander there, so I won't have to roll to test. Let's roll, and that's just a 3 versus 6. Margin excess of 3. Damage.
8.
Damage 8. So it's 11 versus armor 7. So I'll take 4 damage from that. Ouch. That one hurt. Alright, moving on. Alright, next up, this Demolisher here is going to brace and fire linked rocket pods into my Blazed Mamba again. And I am crippled, so I will lose a die. She will get 4 dice for bracing and having linked rocket pods in optimal range. So, needing 3s to her 4s. That's a 4-5 for me, and a 5 for her. That's a margin excess of 0, which will miss with my Agile trait. Alright, and with that, we move on to our next skirmisher. Lastly, her skirmisher moved forward at combat speed and is going to fire an optimal range into my Blazing Mamba again. I will get cover this time around. She will get 2 dice for her. She does have precise. So 3s for me, 4s for her. It's a 5-6 and a 3 for her will miss. Do you want to spend a command point?
No.
No? Okay. So with that, we will then move on back to the south activation. Alright, for the south, I moved up my Brawler Jaeger at combat speed, and then I'm going to fire my grenade launcher into this Scourge Warrior. This will be 2 dice. It has burst, but I am not in optimal range. I will need 4s to her 4s as well. She just gets 2 dice because of the blast on my grenade launcher. That's double 1s for me and a 5 for her. I'm going to try and re-roll that with my commander. Let's see, electric. I need a 6. No, I do not. Alright, so with that, that'll miss. This will hit the other one, however, with the AoE. She will get an extra die for cover this time around. That's a 6-7 for me and a 5-6-7 for her. AoE, that's a margin excess of 0, which will hit. Let's see, damage 6, armor 6. I do have AP1, so you will take 1 damage from that. Alright, and then we'll move on. Next up, this Brawler Jaeger moved forward at combat speed, and I'm going to fire with my light autocannon burst into this crippled warrior here. This will be 2 dice minus 1 for, or 3 dice minus 1 for not optimal range, and she will get 1 die for being crippled. Both needing 4s. That's a 4 for me, and a 6 for her will miss the shot. Alright, moving on. And lastly, my Flame Jaeger moved forward at top speed and is going to fire my anti-personnel rocket into the Demolisher here. So 1 die, needing 4. She will get 3 dice for cover, also needing 4s. That's a 4 for me, and a 6, 7, 8 for her. That will definitely miss. And with that, we go back to Peace River. First up for Peace River, she's activating this crippled Vanguard Warrior that is bracing and firing with burst with the autocannon into my crippled Blazing Mamba. I will get cover for this, so 2s, needing 3s, to her 4s. That's a 6 for me and a 6, 7 for her. That will hit. Mark excess of 1. Damage?
7.
Damage 7, total 8. Armor 7 as well. I'll take 1 damage for that. Alright, moving on. Continuing on, this Scourge Warrior is going to fire the Light Rocket Pod directly into my Blazing Mamba. Once again, I get cover. She will get 2 as well. I need 3s to her 4s. That's a 5, 6. And just a 6 for her. That is a margin success of 0. With my Agile, that will miss. So with that, we go on to her other 2 warriors. Alright, this Vanguard Warrior moved forward at combat speed and is going to fire with the autocannon on burst into my Brawler Jaeger. I'll have 2 dice to her, 2 as well. She's not in optimal range. Both needing 4s. It's a 5 for me and a 2 and a 1 for her. You gotta spin that command point?
Yeah, let's spin it.
Alright. So this will be, you gotta roll an electronic warfare test.
Okay.
Just 1 die. It's a 3. So that will miss. Actually, I think it's 2 die. It's a regular test. Go ahead and roll another die. That will not do it. Alright. So that will miss instead. So with that, we move on to her Scourge. Alright, this Scourge is going to fire indirectly with the Rocket Pod into my Longfang Mamba here. So 1 die for her, 3 die for me for cover, 4s for her, 3s for me. That's a 5, 6 for me, and a 2 from her will miss. And with that, we go back to the south. And for the south, I moved my Cobra forward at combat speed and gonna fire the heavy rotary cannon into this Vanguard Warrior. I am in optimal range, so I got burst 2 for a total of 4 die needing 4s versus her 2 die needing 4s as well. And that is a 6, 7 for me and a 5, 6 for her. Margin of success of 1. Damage 7 for a total 8.
Armor 6.
So armor 6. You'll take 2 damage from that hit. And then we will move on. Alright, next up, my other Cobra moved forward at combat speed is going to fire the rotary cannon into that Scourge, or that Vanguard as well. 4 dice, needing 4s. 3 dice for her, also needing 4s. She does get cover. That's a 4 for me, a 5 for her. I'm going to spend my last command point. That is my commanding officer, so I won't have to roll an electronic warfare test. So re-roll. Try again, and that is a 6, 7 for me. For margin success of 2, plus 7 damage, for a total of 9. Going into armor 6.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, you'll take 3 damage, and that will take them out, right?
Yep.
Alright, that is our first casualty on the board. And with that, we go to the Peace River activation. Alright, and for the Peace River, she's bringing out the big guns as the Argos moves forward at combat speed. And for the first action, she's going to focus and then fire the heavy rotary cannon into my Cobra. So she'll get 5 dice, needing 3s to hit versus my 4s. That is a 6 for me, and a 5, 6, 7 for her, for a margin success of 1. Damage?
7.
A total of 8 versus my armor 8 as well. Is it AP?
What?
Does it have AP?
No.
No? Alright, that fire will just plink off my armor. And then we will move on to our Mamelukes. Alright, Mameluke moves forward at combat speed and is going to fire the light rock pod into my Cobra. Needing 4s to your 4s as well. Alright, 5 for me and a 4 for her will miss. And then we'll move on to her last Mameluke. Second Mameluke moves forward at combat speed is going to do the exact same thing on my Cobra. Needing 4s, that's a 2 for me. Ooh, and a 5, 6, 7 for her. Unfortunately, that's what is that? That's a margin success of 5. I don't have any command points to re-roll. So damage.
7.
7 for a total of 12. Ouch. Armor of 8. So I'll take 4 damage from that hit. The Rockapod gets a lucky hit on the Cobra. And with that, we go to round 2. Alright, round 2 initiative. I need 4s to her 3s. That's a 5 to a 3, 4 for her, which will give me the initiative piece, or the south, turn 2. And for the south, I've activated the Mambas again. So this Blazing Mamba moves over at combat speed behind the wall and is going to fire the rotary laser into this crippled Vanguard Warrior. So 3 dice with burst 2, needing 3s to her 4s. That's a 5, 6 for me and a 4 for her. That will be a margin success of 2 with damage 6 for total 8 damage. Armor?
Armor 6.
Armor 6, 2 damage. That will wreck that Vanguard as I get my second casualty. Moving on. Next up, this Long Fang here is going to brace and fire my linked Rockapods into this Warrior Scourge here. So I get 2 dice. I got +1 for brace and +1 for link, -1 for indirect, and -1 for not being in optimal range. So needing 3s to her 4s. That's a 3 for me. And that is a high roll. Do I want to even bother rolling? No.
No.
So that will miss. Moving on. Next up, this Blazing Mamba here moved forward at combat speed and is going to fire with the rotary laser on burst 2 into that Mameluke. So 4 dice, needing 3s to her 4s. Ooh, and that's a 6, 7, 8, 9 for me versus 7 for her. 6, 7. So margin success of 2. Damage 6, so 8 damage.
Armor 5.
Oh, actually it'd be damage 8 +1 with advanced. So 9 damage versus armor 5. 4 damage going through. That will destroy another vehicle for Peace River. Moving on. And lastly for the south, my other Long Fang is bracing and gonna fire into that middle Mameluke. So 2 dice. Got link, brace, -2 for indirect, and non-optimal range. Needing 3s to her 4s. That's a 3 for me, and a 6, 7 for her will definitely miss. AoE 3 will hit the Argoth as well.
Is he in cover?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's a better roll. It's a 6, 7 for me. Ooh, triple 3s. You want to re-roll?
Yeah.
Alright, that is the commander, so you don't need to make a EW test.
Okay.
That's better. So that's 6, 7 versus my 6, 7. That will hit. Let's see. Damage 8 versus armor 8.
Armor 9.
Armor 9.
Yes.
I have AP 1. So that will damage. I think you have damage reduction though, which might reduce it. So we'll double check that and then move on to Peace River's activation. Alright, for the Peace River, she's activating the Mameluke. It's going to fire the Rockapod into my Cobra. I'm going to retaliate with my heavy rotary cannon. So it's at the same time. So let's do your shooting first. She needs 4s to my 4s as well. It's a 5. Double 3s will miss. Command point.
Yeah,
All right. So roll an electronic warfare test.
What do I need again? 6s?
6s. That'll do it. All right, and then you get to re-roll your shooting. A 6 and an AP margin success of 1 damage.
7.
For a total of 8 damage. Armor 8. Is it AP 1?
Yes.
All right. I will take 1 damage from that. And then with my rotary cannon, I am crippled, so this will be 3 dice back into you with retaliation for 2 for you. That's a 5, 6, 7 for me, a 4 for you, margin excess of 3, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Damage 7. So for a total of 10 damage. Do you armor 5 or 6?
5.
5. You'll take 5 damage in return to that Mameluke. And then we will move on to your Argos. Alright, next up, this Argos is going to fire into my Cobra to try to finish it off. Are you focusing?
Yes.
Alright, so it'll be 5 dice to my 1. Both needing, she needs 3s to my 4s. That's a 6. Good roll. And it's 6, 7, 8 to her. So that's margin success of 2. Damage 7.
Yes.
So 9 altogether for armor 8. That will finish it off. That brawler is destroyed. And then we move on back to the south. And for the south, I just activated this lone brawler, or lone cobra, which moved forward at combat speed, and it's going to fire the heavy rotary cannon into that Mamalu to try and finish it off. So 4 dice needing 4s, there are 1 dice needing 4s as well. And that is a 6, 7, 8. Margin success of 7, plus damage 7 will definitely blow that Mameluke up off the board completely. And then with that, we go back to Peace River's activation. And for this Peace River, she activated her Scourge Warrior, which moved forward at combat speed and is going to fire the bazooka into my Cobra or the Mamba.
I didn't see that one. Your Cobra.
Cobra, all right. She will get burst 1 with the bazooka. This will be 4s for both of us. That's a 6 for me. And 5, 6 for her. That margin success of 0, which will hit damage.
7.
Damage 7. Armor 8 as well, but you have AP 1. So that will do 1 damage to the Cobra. Moving on. Alright, moving on to her last Scourge, who moves forward at combat speed, and then is going to fire the bazooka into my crippled Blazing Mamba. So, 2 dice for her. She has burst 1, but she is not in optimal range, needing 4s. To my 1 die, needing 3. That's a 3 for me. And a 6, 7 for her. Margin success of 4. Damage.
Damage 7.
7. So that is 11 damage to armor 7. So that is 4 going through, which will destroy that Blazing Mamba. And my group leader for that one. Alright. And with that, we go back to the south. Alright, and for the south, I activated my Flame Jaeger, which moved forward at combat speed and is going to fire with my my medium flamer into this Scourge. So I'm not in optimal range, but I do have burst 1, so it's 2 dice to her 2 as well, both needing 4s. So that's a 6 for me, and 6, 7 for her. So that will miss. Yeah, no AP. So yeah, that will miss. Alright, moving on. Continue on with the Jaegers. I moved forward at combat speed and firing with burst with my autocannon into your Scourge with, which is an optimal range. So it's 3 dice to her 2, both needing 4s. That's a 5-6 for me and a 4-5 for her. I'm already just up 1. Damage 6 for a total of 7.
Okay.
AP or armor?
Armor 6.
Armor 6, so you take 1 damage. Alright, moving on. Lastly, this Brawler Jaeger moved forward at top speed and is going to fire with the burst autocannon into this Scourge over here. So 2 dice as I move at top speed, both needing 4s. It's a 4 for me and a 5 for her, so that will miss, unfortunately. And with that, we go back to Peace River. Alright, and for Peace River, she activated her Skirmisher, which moved forward at combat speed, is going to perform an electronic warfare attack on my Cobra here. So, 2 dice for me, I need 6s to her 4s. I got a 6, and she got a 6-7, so that will haywire me, and then roll another die. On a 4-up, I take 1 damage. I take 1 damage, alright, and I am crippled with haywire. Alright, moving on. Alright, continue on. This Demolisher here moved forward at combat speed and is going to fire the medium rocket pods into my Brawler, who is crippled, but I do have cover. So 2 dice, needing 4s to her 3 dice, also needing 4s. And that's a 3 and a 1 for me. I'm going to spend my command point with my commander. Reroll. I'll take that. So 5-6 to 6-7 for her. Margin success of 1. Damage.
8.
For a total of 9. Versus armor 8. I'll take 1 damage from that. Bring me to 3 damage. And then AoE 3. So it will hit this Brawler, who won't get cover for, because it is indirect, or for it is direct. So, oof. It's a 5 for you versus a 2. I do have that commander, so I'm going to attempt to spend my last CP to try again. Need a 6? No. Alright. So, that was a 2. RSS of 3. Damage 8. Total 11.
Yeah.
Versus armor 6. So I'll take 5 damage, crippling that Brawler. That one hurt. Alright, and then last one will hit this Blazing Mamba, who will have cover. You do not have direct line of sight. So it'll be -1, I believe. Six versus 6 for you. Mark success of 0. I do have Agile, so that will miss. Alright. And with that, we go on to her next Demolisher and Skirmisher. Alright, next up, this Skirmisher moved forward at combat speed. It is going to perform an electronic warfare attack on my Flame Brawler, or my Flame Jaeger. So I need 6s again to her 4s. I got a 6. 4-5. That will fail. So I resist the attack. And then we'll move on to her Demolisher. Alright, this Crusader is going to brace and fire the linked rocket pods into my Flame Jaeger. So, needing 4s for both of us. That's a 3 for me. No command points to reroll. Ouch. That's a 6, 7, 8, 9. Margin success of 6.
8 damage.
8 damage. So armor
14.
6. So I'll take 8 damage, which will blow that one completely up. As the South take a casualty, and then with that we go to round 3. Alright, and at the start of round 3, let's roll initiative. And double 1s for me, and a 5 for her will give Peace River the first initiative. Alright, for the Peace River's first activation, she activated her skirmisher group here, who's gonna try to haywire my Cobra again. So I need 6s to her 4s. Nothing for me. And nothing for her. You want to try again?
Sure.
Alright. So go ahead and roll a command test.
Okay.
It's a 5. What's the EW of your Crusader?
5.
Alright, that'll pass then. So now you get to re-roll your electronic warfare test. Oh, double 1s. Alright, that will fail. Moving on. Moving on, this skirmisher is going to perform a haywire on this brawler as well. Need a 6 for me, 4s for her. She gets it with a 5. Alright, I am haywired and crippled. Roll a d4 or d6. I do not take a wound. Alright. Alright, next up, this Crusader 4 is going to move over at combat speed and fire with the rocket pods into my Cobra. So 4 dice for her, needing 4s, needing 4s for me to prove it. After 2 and a 1, 5, 6. I'm going to spend my command point to reroll. That's my commander. 2, 1 again. Ouch. So that is large excess of 4. Damage, 8.
8.
Okay, for a total of 12. Armor, 8 as well. So I take 4. 4 damage, which will bring me down to 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. No. Math is bad. Alright, that will destroy that guy. Alright, moving on. AoE 3 will hit the other 2 guys here, so we'll do the crippled Jaeger here. 2 again, ouch. And 5, 6. Another marked excess of 4.
8 damage.
8 damage, armor 6. That will annihilate that one completely. Alright. And then my Mamba.
2 dice for me, right?
Yep. Oh, jeez. Look at these rolls. I'm going to attempt... No, my commander's dead. Yep, nothing I can do about that. 6, 7. Mark excess of 5. Damage 8. So 13 damage versus armor 7. I take 6 damage, completely annihilating that blazing Mamba, as I take 3 casualties from that one blast. That hurt. Alright, moving on. And lastly, for Peace River, this Crusader 4 is going to fire the linked rocket pods into my crippled Jaeger here. So 2 dice, I do get cover. Needing 4s. Her 4s as well. Finally got a good roll. It's 5 versus her 5. Marked excess of 0. That will hit.
Does he have agile?
No. Damage? 8.
Yes.
Armor 6. I'll take 2 damage from that blast. Alright. And then with that, we go back to the south. Alright, and for the south, I'm going to push forward with my Long Fang and fire my rocket pods directly into this here Scourge. I get +1 for Link, needing 3s to her 4s. And that's a terrible roll of 5 to her 6. That will miss, unfortunately. Moving on. And lastly, for the south, my other long fang is going to brace and fire my linked rocket pods into this skirmisher. AoE 3 will hit the other two as well. So we'll start with the skirmisher.
Well, one's already out of the game.
Now you got this guy here. He's not dead.
Okay.
So 2 dice needing 3s, or 3 dice needing 4s. Double 1s. Fantastic. That will miss completely. Let me change out my dice here. Alright, next up we'll do the other Scourge. Same thing. That's a better roll. That's 6, 7 for me. 6, 7 for you. Mark success of 0 will hit. Damage 8. Armor? 6?
6 for my Scourge, right?
Yes.
6.
So you'll take 2 damage, bringing it to 3.
Okay.
Alright, and then we'll go on to your Crusader here. Same thing. 6 for me. And a 6, 7 for her. That will miss. And with that, we go back to Peace River's activation. Alright, for Peace River, she's going to start with her Scourge. She's going to fire the rocket pod directly into my crippled Jaeger here. I do get cover, so we'll have 2 dice instead of just 1. So, needing 4s. Also, she will need 4s. That's 5, 6 for me, and a 2 and a 1 on her will completely miss. Moving on. And lastly, for the Scourges, this one here is going to fire the rocket pod and directly into my Black Mamba. I would get cover, but I am braced, so it cancels it out for just 2 dice. Both of us needing 4s. That's a 4 for me, and a 1 for her will miss. And with that, we go back to the South's activation. Alright, and for my only activation, it is my Brawler who is crippled. I went ahead and braced to counter out the crippled die. And then I burst 1. So, actually, let me check. 1 die for being crippled. 1 die for brace, and 1 die for burst. Yep, it's 3 dice into the skirmisher here. So both, I need 4s to her 3s. Right? Pilot skill 3?
Yep, 3.
And that's a whiff of a 3. He is my commander, so I'm going to spend my command point to reroll. Still whiffed. Alright, that misses, and with that, we go to Peace River's last activation. Alright, for the Argos, she's going to brace, focus, and fire the medium artillery rocket indirectly into my Jaeger here. So just 1 die for me since I'm braced and crippled. And then she gets +1 for focusing and +1 for bracing for a total of 3 die. She needs 3s to my 4s. 4 for me. And just a 3 for her will miss. You got a command point?
Yes.
She's going to re-roll with her commander. And a 5, 6, 7. Margin success of 3. Damage?
8.
8. 11 damage going into armor. 6. So I'll take 5 damage, which will destroy that Jaeger. And with that, we go to round 4. Alright, start of round 4 initiative. I need a 6 now to her 3s. Nothing for me. And a 4 will give Peace River the initiative. Alright, first things first, she's going to move her skirmisher at combat speed and perform another haywire attack on my Mamba. I need 5s to her 4s. And that's a 6 to a 5. That will do it. I'll roll a d6. 2. Nope, no damage. Just crippling me with a haywire. And then we will move on. Next up, this Crusader moved forward at combat speed is going to fire the linked rocket pods into my crippled Mamba. So 1 die for me, 3 for her. I need 3s to her 4s. 3 will do it. And 1, 2, and 1 will miss. You going to keep it or spin a command point?
I want to spin it.
Alright, I think that's your commander, right? Down.
No.
No? Okay, so roll electronic warfare test, which is a 5. I think that does it with your Crusader. 5, yep, that'll do it. Alright, roll another shot. And still a miss. Alright, I'll take that. Alright, moving on. Alright, next up, this Crusader moved forward at combat speed is going to fire the linked rocket pods indirectly into my Mamba. I have 3 dice this time for cover, needing 3s to her 4s. That's a 6-7 for me, and a 6-7 for her. Margin success of 0 will miss because I am agile. And then we will move on. And lastly, for the group here, the skirmisher is going to fire the light rocket pod into my Mamba. 3 dice, 1 for her. I need 3s to her 4s. That's a 6, 7, 8, which will definitely dodge that attack. And with that, we go back to the South's activation. Alright, and for the South, I move forward my Long Fang at combat speed. And I'm going to fire my linked rocket pods into this skirmisher. So, I got +1 for linked and -1 for being crippled. So 2 dice needing 3s versus her 2 dice also needing 3s. And that's a 1 and a 2. 2 and 2 for her, so it's a margin success of 0, which will hit. Damage 8, armor 5. That's 3 damage into that skirmisher. Alright, moving on. And lastly, this Long Fang is going to brace and fire with my linked rocket pods into this skirmisher. So it's 2 dice needing 3s versus her 3 dice also needing 3s. And that's a 5, 6 for me, and a 4 for her. Margin success of 2. Damage 8 for a total of 10 versus armor 5.
Yeah.
Taking 5 damage to that skirmisher. Not quite enough to take it out, unfortunately. AoE 3, so that'll hit this guy as well. Same thing, except for force this time for her. 4 for me. And a 6, 4, or 6, 7, 8, which will miss completely. And then lastly, hitting this Crusader. That's a 4, 5. 5, 6 for her. Also a miss. Alright, and with that, we go back to the South, or Peace River. And back to Peace River, she's going to activate the Scourge, which is going to brace and fire at burst into my Long Fang, who's crippled. So 1 die for me, needing 3s, versus her 4 die, needing 4s. 6 for me, that'll help. And just a 4 for her, which will miss. Alright, moving on. Next up, this Scourge here is going to fire indirectly with a rock pod into my Mamba. Both get it 1 die, needing 3 for me, 4 for her. A 1, ouch, and a 5, margin success of 4 damage. 7?
Yes, 7.
So 11 damage versus armor 7. So I'll take 4 damage. He's still standing. But he is now crippled. Alright. And then with that, we go back to the South, which I don't have any more units to activate. So then we go back to your Argos for the last move. Alright, and lastly, this Argos is going to brace, focus, and fire the artillery rocket indirectly into this crippled Mamba. So 1 die for me, 3 for her, both needing 3s. And that's a 6 for me, And a 5, 6, 7 for her. Marked excess of 1 damage.
8.
8 for 9 damage. Armor 7. I'll take 2 damage points. That he is still standing and holding that objective. And with that, we come to the end of round 4. So let's count up victory points and see who wins. Alright, so for the South, I got 2 victory points for holding the objectives. And then I got 2 victory points for Pave the Way, reducing her group to half, and another victory point for them being an FS objective holder, or being of the FS category, for a total of 4 victory points, while the Peace River got 2 victory points for the objectives holding, and then she got 2 victory points for Pave the Way, and another 2 victory points for Wipe Them Out, for a total of 6 victory points for a Peace River victory. Thanks for watching, guys.